You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Wheel podcast. Today, it's just Sean and I. We're sitting down and chatting with you about service. RV service is a huge component of RV travel. There's no such thing as owning an RV and never getting any maintenance work done. And today, we wanted to kind of talk through the different options that are out there as far as getting work done, whether that be maybe you're doing it yourself, maybe you're bringing it to a service center or a dealership, or maybe you're bringing it to mobile tech, or should I say, maybe they are coming to you. And what sparked all this is that Sean found an article earlier in the week that Love's Travel Stops are expanding their RV presence by now offering RV battery and tire service, which we thought was great because as anybody that owns an RV, you know, getting service done isn't always easy, but now that Love's is kind of throwing their hand into the game here, I think that's going to help open up a few more options. And at the moment, they are just talking about doing battery and tire, but you know, I think that's a great start, Sean.
Yeah, and it's only at their locations where they have the RV, I guess, what are they called? Like RV, sort of like mini campgrounds, maybe,
Yeah,
is the only place they're doing it. But I think it's a great start. And there's so many loves across the country that if it does expand and they start doing more maintenance stuff, it's going to be really great because like almost every exit has a Love's on the highways, on the interstates. So that I think it's a great start, like you said.
yeah, and I've always been pro Flying J in the past, and I have been slowly changing my thought process and staying at more Loves. And I say staying because I actually do sleep out in their parking lots. And I used to stay at a lot of Flying J's, but Loves recently has been doing more and more for the RVer, and they have won my business. They have converted me from somebody that used to only stay at Flying J's to now somebody that stays at the Loves. And we can talk a little bit about maybe the advantages of that. But, you know, I'm thinking too, because Loves, the travel center is offering like battery and tire service. Now, when you go there and you're getting service done, you can use their amenities, such as the dog park and laundry that they have there. They usually have restaurants. So I much rather, me personally, if I'm going to have service done and it's something that Loves can do, I'd rather have it done there. Whereas I can stay on property and actually have things that I can still do. They have Wi-Fi available, so I could get work done. Like I said, they got the restaurants, dog park, and laundry. You know, you're not just sitting and waiting for your vehicle to get done like you typically would be at as I'll put in like quotes, a true RV service center area.
In terms of batteries, it seems like they only have like lead acid battery service. They don't have lithium battery service yet, but maybe that'll come in the future.
Yeah, I look at this, Sean, as they're probably just really testing the waters. And they probably picked two things that they felt that their service departments that, you know, because they're already servicing trucks, you know, the over the road truckers. And I'm looking at this as they probably are just testing the waters. They picked two things that they know that their service department can handle. And if it goes well, if more RVers start using them, then maybe they'll expand. Now, of course, this is just speculation, but I'm thinking then they would expand upon this and see, oh, there's a real need. Like RVers need service. I mean, that's just the truth about RVing is this. I mean, they're basically house on wheels, and there's a lot, you know, that can go wrong or just rattling down the road all the time. So yeah, I think they will find. I hope anyway that they find that there is a need for this, and hopefully expand even on it.
Yeah, and I think one thing we can talk about is that typically, what in my experience over the last 10 years of RVing, when you take your RV to service, it's never like a fast process. There's always like delays for one reason or another, part shortages, or just getting it scheduled, especially if you're a full timer, getting it scheduled is a challenge. And it's not always like, I know people like to blame the service place, but it's not always the service place's fault why things are delayed. It could be the part supplier is behind, or there's 90 other people that need to get service before you. There's not enough service techs, and there haven't been for a while. So there's a lot that goes into service. So the more informed you are, the better decision you can make of what's right for you and what you're willing to risk and not risk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, there's literally just a lot of moving parts when it comes to getting service done. All those things that Sean mentioned. And then on top of that, there's a lot of different brands, manufacturers. There's always new technologies coming out. And it's difficult for these service departments to really kind of keep up with everything. For me personally, like that's one of the reasons why Sabrina and I like to take our Winnebago back to the Winnebago Factory Service Center is because we know that they're kind of up on everything. But that's not always a viable solution because there's only one, there's only one Winnebago factory service, and it's in Iowa. And if we're nowhere near it, it's just not worth us traveling 1,500 miles out of our way to kind of do that. So often we find ourselves in the same situations as everybody else would. That you need to find maybe a traditional RV service center that you can bring your vehicle to. And like Sean said, it's it's not always just the service center's issue. It is, parts especially too. Parts getting parts is always difficult. And there's only, shipping times. And unfortunately, a lot of the ways that a traditional service center works is that they want you to drop your vehicle off and then you come back and pick it up. I know years and years ago when Sabrina and I had an AC failure, air conditioner failure, the service center said, "Hey, can you leave it with us for 3 days?" And luckily, it did work out to our advantage that we were flying somewhere anyway. So we left it the RV for a full week with them, and then we came back and picked it up. We were living in our RV at that time. That's not always the most convenient thing. Is actually it's the least convenient thing is to leave your RV with somebody for 5 days when you're trying to live out of your RV. There's a lot of pain points to like your traditional RV center, but there are pros to a traditional RV center as far as that those centers are going to have certified techs. Some of them may even be, like I mentioned, that there is the Winnebago Factory Service Center. But, Winnebago and other brands will go out and certify dealers. Like a La Mesa will also have like certified Winnebago techs, and they're going to have certified Thor techs. That is the advantage of going to a service center like that. Warranty work is typically a little less painful when you bring it to one of these dealerships. They may stock certain items as far as parts go. Now, if you have maybe a newer RV with newer tech in it, that may not be the case, but they'll have a better chance of having some of these more common part step motors and things like that, or at least they'll be able to like get overnight shipping because they do deal with the manufacturers and the appliance manufacturers on a more a daily basis.
Yeah, and one thing with the traditional RV service centers is that sometimes the manufacturers, particularly with like you said, Kenny, the tech heavy side of things, sometimes the manufacturers won't even send parts out unless they have somebody that's certified
Yeah.
on that particular system, so that the warranty isn't voided and they know that the work's being done correctly. So a lot of times that's where your traditional RV service center will be of value. Also, I think about things like we had a drop down deck on our first fifth wheel, and that had some water damage to it and had to be replaced. And that was something that, only a service center had the capacity and equipment to do. So like anything major, like structural stuff, I would say the service center is probably your best bet, even though it's probably going to take some time to get it fixed.
Yeah, they'll have the space and the equipment for moving big items like that. That's a good point. That's a really good point. The way too, I wanted to add about, like the certified techs. I've talked to a lot of dealerships, and the way that typically works is that they get their technicians certified to be, a certified, say, Winnebago tech, or a certified Truma tech, or a certified, Furion tech. And what happens is, if for whatever reason they lose those techs and those techs go to another company, that dealership actually loses their certification. The certification is actually with their techs, not so much the dealership. And apparently, what I'm finding is that they are pretty strict about it. So if they do lose, say there's only one Furion tech in that dealership or service center, and he leaves the company, they then lose that certification. They're no longer allowed to say or claim that they are a Furion certified tech or a Truma certified tech. They have to then re-certify another service tech. Now, that being said, though, just because the dealership does have a certified tech on property doesn't mean that's the same person that's actually doing the work. There's no guarantee that that certified tech is the one actually doing the work on your piece of equipment, appliance, or whatever. But they are on at least property, and if somebody else is doing the work, they are there to reference back and say, hey, I did this so far, I did that. I'm still running into a problem. Can you at least come over and take a look? They're there to at least consult, even if they're not the ones actually working on it. But I did want to make it clear that if that person does leave the company, that dealership does lose their certification. I thought that was pretty interesting from talking to the different dealerships of that's how that service and certified tech works.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't know that. I looked up right before we recorded this actually, and the average labor rate for a traditional RV service center right now is like $185 an hour.
Wow.
But it ranges between like 150 and 250. It's not cheap
Mm-mm.
to get the work done, but sometimes it's necessary to take it there because of the reasons that we've been talking about the last few minutes. And you are most of the time going to have to wait a little bit to get your work done.
Yeah, I think for the for like your traditional service centers, if you're having, like Sean said, major repairs, slides, structural, you had the drop down deck. If you're getting big warranty issues that are being covered under warranty, or like those complex diagnoses. But yeah, your downsides are going to be long wait times to the point that maybe they're going to ask you to drop the vehicle off and pick it up later. Expense, it's going to be a little bit more expensive at the traditional locations, and lack of convenience, I would say. It just
I do know when we first got our first fifth wheel, we were back when now it's no longer lazy days, but back when it was lazy days in
mm,
Florida, we had a bunch of warranty work that had to get done, and they actually let us sleep in the service bay. We just had to be gone during the day when the workers were there, and then we would come back at night, and they would connect us to power and water, and we could sleep in the service bay, which was nice because that was our home.
yeah, that's great.
So it they do try and make it as convenient as possible, I would say, but sometimes it's just not possible.
Yeah, depending on what you have going on. And I agree with Sean. Like, the service centers that we have been to, I feel like they are trying. Like, I think they do try hard. They don't want angry consumers, right? They want you to come back. They want you to spend your money there. So I feel like they do try very hard. It's just the nature of the beast. There's just a ton of RV out on the road. There's only X amount of service centers. There's only X amount of techs, and there's only X amount of parts. So unfortunately, when it comes to servicing your RV, patience is the name of the game.
Yep.
And then try to be a little understanding on both sides of what's going on. Yes, you do need your RV back right away, but they can only really just do so much. Which brings us to another option. And this is an option that I try to go to more so than the traditional service center. And that's using a mobile RV technician. And I've had really good luck with mobile RV techs. One, because they do come to you. They'll come right to a campground. A lot of times they'll work with the campground, like they have a relationship with the campground that it's okay to work on property, which is a big deal because a lot of times campgrounds will not let you do any of your own work on your own RV, not even an oil change. They won't even let you do an oil change oftentimes, but they will allow a mobile tech or even a mobile oil change company to come on. They have some type of relationship that they will allow them to come on the property and do the work. A lot of times they do claim that this is because of insurance and hazards and just, whatever they don't want me making a mess with oil all over the place. Whereas there's somebody that they can blame and actually, have a relationship with to have that stuff done. So oftentimes this means because they're coming to you and they're a smaller operation, usually means faster scheduling. They're not asking you to bring your vehicle and drop it off. So you're staying in your RV right in your property. It's more personal. You're dealing typically with the owner of the company. Usually the owner is the one coming out and doing the work, unless if it's a very big mobile tech service. And a lot of times I've done this. It just depends on the person, but I've asked to stick around and watch them do the work so that I can learn about what they're doing and that I can take care of that problem if it ever occurs again. And I've never had somebody say, no, I'd rather you not watch me work. I'm sure it's not what they want. I know I don't like being watched. If I was to be doing work on something, as long as you're just sitting there quietly watching and not disturbing them while they're doing the work, even asking questions, save all your questions for the end if you can, or wait till they're like at a stopping point and then ask a question about what they're doing. I feel like the mobile RV tech is just a better overall experience than bringing it to a service tech. But I mean, there's cons to it too. They're limited into what they can do. It's kind of going to go back to what Sean said about, when he had his drop down deck. Like that's not something that a service tech, a single guy or a single girl isn't going to be able to come out and probably fix your slide all on their own, or major structural damage, roof repair, and things like that. That's something that you're going to have to do for a shop. Not all mobile repairs are going to handle warranty work. There are some that can. Some of them will be certified with, say, an appliance company, and they can do the warranty work. I would speculate, though, that not too many mobile RV techs are able to do factory warranty work, though. Like if you have a Thor motor coach, most likely they're not related to Thor in any way to do warranty work on your, again, we're going with bigger items here, but your structural, your chassis, things like that as far as warranty work. They're not going to be licensed through Ford to do warranty work if you're having an engine problem or something like that. So there
I
will
have
be.
had
Oop,
2 cases though, Kenny, where, I had a mobile RV tech that did warranty work, replacing my AC unit, and he actually had, like, I don't know if you've ever tried to get an AC unit on a roof, but it's not easy, and
mhm.
he had, like, a crane in the back of his truck that he could use to lift it up onto the roof, so he was able to do that, and then another time in Texas, we had a mobile RV tech that was able to do the warranty work on our refrigerator, so
Oh, nice. It
it
happens.
happens,
Yeah.
but yeah, not for major stuff.
Yeah. No, that's good
Although
though.
I would say AC is major depending on where you're at,
AC for me is major no matter where I am. We were just talking earlier. I had the AC set to 64 degrees because I was warm at 65.
But it is good to find out if they are, like, I would like to know if they're certified,
hmm
like a certified RV tech, been through some formal training, and if they have insurance,
Yeah,
for their business.
for
Yeah.
sure. You want to do both of those things. And some of them, like Sean's saying too, about the warranty work, that means that they're like certified for either Coleman or whatever, Norcold for the refrigerators. I actually just dealt recently with somebody that was certified Truma repair, and he was working on my Truma AquaGo for me. And he's certified on all Truma appliances, the AC units, the heating systems, as well as the water. And he said the same thing, Sean, about he's got his little mobile crane that he's able to use to pull, to pluck the AC units. Because I asked him,
Yeah.
how do you get this air conditioner up and down if you got to swap it out? An AC unit's like 85 pounds. You're not going to strap it to your back. And he said back in the day he did, but now he uses a crane. Now he said he's too old to be doing that anymore. So now he's using a crane. So that's my first call, is to find a mobile tech first if I'm in an area that they can do it. Well, that's actually my second. When we'll get to my first one. We'll get
Yeah.
to our first pretty soon. But I always look at a mobile tech first before having to bring something into a service center, because I've consistently had better experiences with mobile compared to like the traditional RV centers. I would say that the mobile techs are pretty good as far as their range of expertise. Like, they're good with the appliances and plumbing. They know electrical. I consider Jordan to be a mobile tech, even though he does repairs but he's doing all like solar and lithium batteries. And we're talking about Jordan from Echo One Adventures. I consider him to be mobile because I took my RV to a campground. He came out and he did my entire lithium battery setup, the inverter, the solar batteries, the solar panels, the solar batteries, the lithium batteries. That's what I meant to say. He did my DC to DC charger. Like, I feel like he's very expertise in that electrical field. Now, he doesn't do like plumbing and stuff like that. But that's the thing, is that you can like, look around, shop around. You can find people that specialize in, your particular systems.
How they're similar to a service center, particularly in areas like where I live next to a national park in the summertime. Sometimes it's tough to get one to come out and take a look at your problem because they are so busy with
Crazy.
all the tourists and campers coming in for the national park. So just be aware that, they're not always going to be, I'll be there in 20 minutes kind of thing. Sometimes you're going to have to wait a few days for them to have time to come out and take a look.
Yeah. Timing is everything.
Yeah.
I've even used a mobile tech on our tow vehicle too, Sean. We had our Jeep and it wouldn't start. And it turned out that it was a bad starter, and mobile tech came out. He was able to get a starter for it, everything all in the same day. And he had me, had the Jeep back on the road in a single day. It took him like maybe 4 hours with getting the part and everything. But again, I was like, man, this is better, because otherwise I would have had to tow my Jeep to a service center, or I could have hooked it up and flat towed it, I guess, with my RV. But I was thinking, between a tow to a service center, and then again, you would have dropped it off. Like, they're not going to look at it the same day. I called this guy. We were in Moab at the time. He came out, swapped out the starter. He was all done in under 4 hours from the time I called him to the time he was done.
Yeah, that was the first I had ever heard about these mobile like auto mechanics, but
Hmm.
now I see them quite a bit like on YouTube and stuff, mobile auto mechanics that
Yeah.
that will come out, kind of like the mobile diesel mechanics for when the trucks are broke down on the side of the road. It's really great to have that option.
Yeah. And again, you're same thing with this guy. He was the owner of the company. He was the tech too, and he was hourly. He was cheaper than if I brought it to a garage. So not only did it save me the tow, but it saves me money on the actual like work done. And this isn't common, but he didn't even charge for the call, I guess you could say. Like, he didn't charge miles
Like
to
a
come out
service fee.
for the
Yeah.
service. There was no service fee for him to come out. And that's unusual, because most of these
Yeah.
service tech guys, if they're coming to you and it's more than a mile away, they're going to charge you, especially with gas prices today. They're going to charge you for coming out to your location. It's kind of like, what would you a convenience fee, really, the fact that they are driving to you. So keep that in mind, that their hourly rate might be less than a service or a dealer, but there will be some type of convenience fee for them to actually come out to you.
Yeah, I did look this up too, Kenny, and a service fee for a mobile RV tech is typically between 85, this is a wide range, between
Mhm.
85 and $350. That's just for the service fee, and
Mhm.
then their labor rates, which are about the same as what you would pay at a service center. But I also saw that instead of like a flat service fee, some charge per mile. So they might charge like
Ooh.
$3.50 per mile that it takes for them to come to you, and stuff like that. So definitely consider that when you're needing to get work done, is ask what the service fee is that they charge to come out to you.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a pretty wide, like you said, Sean, there's a wide range of what
Yeah.
they're charging. I think I like the flat rate, unless he's right down the street from me. Then I guess I don't
Right.
want the flat rate.
Yeah. They also, some of them add on a little extra for like emergency or like
Hmm.
middle of the night type calls. So,
Mm.
yeah, definitely ask, but it's great to have that ability to have somebody come straight to you. I like you, Kenny, prefer to pay for the convenience of them coming to me instead of having to go drop my RV off somewhere.
Yeah, especially anybody like us, Sean, that has pets too. And you don't have to like uproot your pet. You don't have to find a place to bring your pet while you're in the service center. It's just convenient for us to have somebody come to us and not have to relocate Bell for the day or 2 days or whatever it may be that it's out. We've even used, I would even consider this to be like a mobile tech. We've used Safe Light to fix our front windshield on our RV.
Oh yeah.
They come out to us and they fix the windshield and we don't have to bring the RV somewhere. They just come out with a van and a ladder because we are in a Class A motorhome with a giant windshield that's 12 feet off the ground. That was a great experience too, where Safe Light just came out and fixed our windshield for us. And, it might have been like $75 for the fix, but our windshield's $5,000 to replace. So
Yeah.
it's well worth to have them come out and do the work. And they're very professional about everything, very convenient, comes right out to the campground and fixed our windshield right there on the right there on the property. It was great. I think there's more more mobile tech and mobile repair solutions out there than most people would realize.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot, especially now. It seems like there's more and more.
Yeah, we were out at a place in Vegas and somebody came out and did an oil change on our RV right in our spot. We thought that was great. They came out 2 days before we left the location. We had a fresh oil change before we hit the road again. Unfortunately, like while you're out and about, it's difficult to even do an oil change yourself. Like a lot of places they do not want to see you doing work on your own vehicle for whatever reason. They don't like it. You're at a campground, people are on vacation, they don't want to hear impact wrenches. It makes sense for a lot of it. It makes sense. They just ban it across the board. No repairs at all. But that is my favorite, and my number one choice is always to fix something on my own. it's
Exactly.
it's by far the cheapest option. It's going to be the fastest turnaround. Well, I guess depending on your own schedule and your own timing, it should be the fastest turnaround. You're not in a waiting room. You're kind of left to your own schedule in that way. Also, by doing stuff on your own, you're kind of building your own knowledge or information base. And down the road, you'll recognize maybe problems before maybe you'll recognize small problems before they become bigger problems, the more you kind of fix on your own. So you're kind of building up your own confidence and knowledge. And nobody cares more about your property or your vehicle than you do. Like nobody's on. I mean, even the best of service techs are still working on somebody else's property or somebody else's equipment. Like nobody should feel as attached to your vehicle as much as you do.
Yeah, I prefer that doing it myself for a couple of reasons. One is that I'm cheap. And so when you see like right now I'm just looking at a random service center that generator oil change for a gas generator, they're charging $140, and for a diesel generator they're charging $270. What they do is change the oil and filter, and that's it. They
Wow.
change the oil and filter for $140 on a gas generator. And you can do that for yourself for much, much less. Generator service, they charge $270. And all they're doing there is clean and check battery and connections in the generator, check the exhaust system, clean the spark arrestor, which is very easy to do.
Yeah.
Verify your CO2 detector is working, which is very easy to do. Check the air filter on the generator, change the oil and filter, perform a load test, and check the fuel filter and replace it if it's needed. That's something that a person can do on their own. Here's another one that really surprised me. Battery service, $80 to top off the fluids. This is like a lead acid battery.
Mm-hmm.
Top off the fluids, clean the terminals and the posts, test the amperage and voltage, and apply the anti-corrosive gel to the batteries.
Wow, $80.
$70. Yeah, $80. $80. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, with what do people call it? YouTube University.
Yeah, YouTube University.
You can do a lot of this stuff much cheaper and learn in the process on how to do it and build up your confidence. And I think it makes you a better owner too when you know your system that well that you're able to do all this stuff. So
Yeah.
that's the primary reason why I like doing it myself. And then second is just the convenience of it. Like you said, Kenny, it's on your time. You're not depending on anybody else's schedule.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a wild card reason in there too. I feel like when I do make a repair and I get it right, I feel very accomplished that I was able to
Yeah.
like I give myself a big pat on the back. And I just feel good that I was able to figure it out and do the repair on my own. Those repairs, those that service, Sean, that you're talking about, like that maintenance work, that must be like their bread and butter type of thing. Like those
Oh
things
yeah.
don't cost that much money. Like especially for a generator that usually only takes about 2 quarts of oil for a gas one anyway, and they're getting bulk rate discounts on the oil, so they're not even paying the oil prices that we're getting. That and material is probably costing them like $25 to do that $150 sor maintenance, oil change on a gas generator. That's incredible to me. And
Yeah,
it's
winterization, $160, which you can do that for probably $30 yourself
yeah,
and an
yeah,
hour of
doesn't
your
cost
time.
anything. Yep, yep. It's just
Yeah.
time. Wow. And that's a very easy thing to do too is, winterization, but I was thinking, man, the oil change on a generator is usually very easy because it's not even like you have to lift anything because the generator is usually high enough off the ground that you can get under there, pull it's just a single plug. There really isn't that much to it. It's almost it's not for everybody, right? Not I mean,
Right.
I could not see Sabrina, my wife, getting under our RV to even do a generator oil change. Like it's just not something she's going to do. One, she's not going to own the tools. Like I don't think she personally owns any tools on her own. And two, that's just not her thing. Like she has zero interest in doing something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like on our RV, I've done some big repairs like replacing the hydraulic lines and jacks and doing all the solar and the battery wiring. I've tackled some stuff that probably was better left to professionals, but I wanted to try it. And then if you don't succeed, then you can get somebody to come and fix your mistake, right?
Yeah, I feel like that, one of the cons is that the risk of doing something wrong, but if it's already broken, I mean, you shouldn't be able to make it worse technically. If something's broke, it's broke type of thing. And I mean, I guess electrical stuff you could make worse if you wired something up incorrectly and you blew more fuses or blew something apart that maybe your inverter had a bad fuse, but then you wired it wrong, and now instead of just a fuse, you blew the I don't know whatever a motherboard in it or something like that. Of course, too, warranty stuff, right? So if something is under warranty and now you went and messed with it, it could void the warranty. So you do want to be careful about, well, is it really worth me trying to fix this $1,500 air conditioner? If I void the warranty, they won't cover it at all. So, I mean, it does depend on what you want. And then, of course, tools. If something just requires some basic tools, that's not a big deal. But if you're going out and I guess you got to spend a huge amount of money on maybe a tool that you're only going to use for this one job and never use it again. I can't really think of too many tools that are out there that are like that. I'm thinking of like coil compressors or something like that if you're doing chassis work. But you could always use, and I recommend this highly, is going to like an O'Reilly's, an AutoZone, where they rent tools for free.
Rent the tool, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times they just ask for a down payment on it. And when you return the tool, they give you the money back on it. So if it is something like that, that you think is going to be a one time type of tool purchase, check with Auto Zones and O'Reilly's. And I can't remember the other big Advanced Auto because they do have loan a tool out there. And then if they don't, Home Depot and Lowe's will rent for a cost, but it might be worth it if it's something, like I said, that you don't think that you're going to be using often. There are some jobs that are not DIY friendly. Like, well, maybe with enough people, Sean, maybe you could have replaced your drop down deck, but I feel like that's a
No.
pretty big job.
Yeah.
Like, that's not
Yeah, I think you need
something
some yeah, you need some heavy duty stuff for
if
that.
it, yeah, or if there's a situation where you have to remove your slide to do a repair and put it back in, you're
Yeah.
not removing a slide out
Mhm.
of your RV. There are some things that are not DIY friendly, but I would say 80% of your RV can be something like replacing your RV roof. That's not a DIY. I mean, it could possibly be, but I'd rather take it someplace like the Flex Armor when we had them
Yeah.
on and have them actually do the roof repair and replace the bad parts out of it. It's a big, big job.
I will say though, Kenny, one thing that I think anybody can do, and I don't have a motorhome, so I can't do it on my RV, but if I had like a drivable, a motorhome class A, B, C, I would get even one of those code readers that you put
Mhm.
into your OBD port,
Yep.
just so you know what the problem is.
Yeah.
And that could help you avoid maybe some future or some unnecessary costs. If you know what the problem is when you take it in, then you can let them know, here's what the issue is. And also for your peace of mind, knowing that what they're fixing is really what the problem is.
Yeah, that's always the problem too, and that's something that we didn't really touch upon. I feel like this is more in the automotive world than the RV world, but this probably happens too, is finding somebody that you can trust and somebody that you know isn't trying to rip you off, and you bring it to them and say, "Hey, my slide's not working. It's not really going in and out." And they say it's structural when really it's just a replacement of a motor. And they're lying to you, or they just don't know any better type of
Yeah.
thing. So, being able to do more on your own, you have at least the peace of mind knowing that you're not being ripped off, that you're actually fixing the real problem, and somebody's not telling you it's one thing and charging you more for something that's they're not performing a small job and charging you the big job price type of thing. You got to be able to trust the place that you're going to, and that's not always easy when you're traveling all across the country and you're in areas that you've never been to before. I feel like the more you travel, the more you want to be able to do on your own.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's improved that a little bit is the ability of to read reviews on the
Hmm.
internet.
Yeah,
But you have to be able to read between the lines because, sometimes people are just pissed off because they had to spend a lot of money to get their repair and, they're just mad.
yeah,
So you have to know how to read reviews and read enough of them about a place to kind of get the idea of what's factual and what's not factual or realistic, I guess.
yeah.
So, but that definitely helps in finding reputable places, I guess.
Yeah, Sabrina likes reading reviews. I like reading the reviews too. And like you said, Sean, like there's a skill to it. Reading reviews, you wouldn't think there would be, but there have been times that we've looked at like reviews for a campground even, and somebody left the campground 1 star because it rained all week. Like, well, how are you giving the campground one star because it rained all week? To be fair, they said it rained all week and that the property got wet and parts of the grass were muddy. I'm like, well, I mean, it rained all week. What are you gonna do? I really don't feel like that's the campground's fault. I mean, you don't want an entire campground to be all concrete and cement, or maybe you do. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I think you do have to be careful when reading reviews sometimes. Yeah. So I think, especially DIY stuff, routine maintenance stuff, 100% you should be trying to do as much of that as you can. And I know, like I mentioned earlier, not all campgrounds and stuff like that want you to be able to do oil changes, but I would do as many as you can that you're allowed to do. Any, cleaning out air filters, cleaning out your air conditioner, air filter, things like that. You should 100% be doing on your own. Your maintenance on your generators. It's going to save you so much in the long, not just time, but it's going to save you money too.
On those frequently broken things, like I'm on my third water pump now, I think,
Mm, yeah, me too.
and fuses and maybe some miscellaneous screws and bolts. Carry some of that stuff with you so at least you can repair something enough to get by until
Yeah.
you can get it in somewhere. Zip ties, duct tape, all that kind of stuff. Carry that stuff with you in your RV so then you're not you may not be totally stuck. You may be able to patch something up or even in the case of like a water pump, you can just replace it and not have to worry about it. So
Yeah, the water pump one, that's a perfect example of something that just wears out over time and something that is very easy to switch out yourself. You wouldn't think so because it is electrical and plumbing mixed together, but it really is like a plug and play system. I mean, you're just unscrewing your water line and you're just doing a simple unplug and plugging it back into the new one, and then reconnecting those plumbing lines again. And you'll know right away if you got it wrong. You fire it up, it either doesn't, if you wired it wrong, which usually you can't because it is just a plug. You're not doing like true wiring. You'll know right away if it leaks, if it's holding water, all that. That's a great example of something that people should be doing on their own. It's just something even just as, like a water pump.
Yeah, and I would say too, if you're not a full-time RV traveler, wherever you live, like find a good tech and just build a relationship with them and then use them, like Kenny said, to get that someone that you trust to do the work. Once you establish that relationship, it usually makes getting things repaired easier.
Yeah.
So what would you say, Kenny, like if somebody was trying to figure out what route they should go, what would you say? When would you use a service center versus a RV tech or mobile repair versus trying it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, DIY is always my first go-to. Mobile tech, I always look for a mobile tech next. That's always my second. It's easy to find these guys and girls. It's just through a Google search. They'll come up in the area. And then my last resort nowadays is unfortunately the service center. I just don't have the best of luck with them as far as cost, timing, and the convenience. Everybody has their own comfort level. Like, not everybody's going to be comfortable using their own skills to try to repair something. And I get that. And not everybody's going to be comfortable maybe having somebody that they don't know come out to their RV to do a repair. Say you're dry camping or boondocking or something like that. Maybe you just don't feel comfortable having I'll put in quotes, a stranger coming out. Again, using those Google reviews, though, you should be able to kind of wean out any bad feelings or omens that you may have or reservations about somebody coming out and working on your RV.
Do you think it would make the system, I use system in quotes, but like the repair pipeline for RVs better if people used like if there was like a almost like a flow diagram that like okay, if it's not a major like structural or large repair issue,
Hmm.
try and use a mobile tech. And then only go to the service centers for like those big things, because then it would kind of like free up those service centers for the big jobs and
Yeah,
you might not have to wait so long instead of now like where they're doing all these things like winterization and oil changes and things like that that take time but aren't large issues. Like if we had sort of like a, I don't know, like a framework for if it's a small repair, use mobile tech. If it's a large repair that a mobile tech can't do, then go to the service center.
that's a great idea, Sean. That's a great point. I think that's really good insight too, because like you said, it would actually free up the service centers for allowing them to do the big jobs: roof repairs, roof replacements, slide replacements, structural damage repairs, water damage,
Yeah.
replacing exterior walls with new walls. It would almost be like, I'll try to think of like triage in a hospital
Yeah.
where,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of going, not everything needs to be at the emergency room, like some things can go to urgent care first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And try to free up that availability that's in the emergency room for like true emergencies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good way to look at it. I didn't think about that, Sean. Maybe we could even put together something like that. If it's an oil change, like you said, oil change, like routine maintenance stuff is perfect for DIY and mobile tech stuff. But the big jobs, that's a service center
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Luckily, though, we do have options out there. I mean, we just
Lots of
named, yeah,
options.
lots
Yep.
of options out there. And now with Love's coming into play too, it sounds like we're going to have even more options. And obviously, kind of the convenience of that, or the plus side to that, is that Love's are already located in the popular travel locations. So you're
Yeah.
going to be going by them already. I'm excited to see what they add for the RVers as far as like convenience going, and I hope it expands more than just the battery and the tire, because they are nationwide, and potentially maybe we wouldn't even need an appointment You just kind of show up and say, "Hey, I'm driving through. I notice I have a bad tire." I feel like a lot of like as far as like the big rigs, like we have truck tires on our Class A motorhome, and it's already what they're dealing with. So maybe they would be able to get that tire quickly compared
Yeah.
to another place. So yeah, if they can do well, I don't know if I would want my tire repaired, but if they could do tire replacement and things like that, even that would be a big. I think that would be a big deal because they're using. You said that they're rolling this out at only the places that have like the designated campgrounds, like the Love's campground sites. Say they weren't able to get you in that day, if they could get you in the other, the very next day, they even have a place there for you
Yeah, there's a
to stay
place.
overnight. So that's pretty convenient too. You're not like leaving your RV with them per se. You're going to park it in their campground, hopefully get in maybe the next day. So it should be more convenient, should be faster. Accessibility as far as like location wise, I feel like they're already in the most popular roadways anyway. Let's hope that works out. Let's hope that kind of takes off and expands to a little bit more. Obviously, I think though, like a Love's, Sean, they're probably looking at their service center as more of a chassis related issues. Like I don't see Love's me personally, I don't see them taking care of too much of the house. Like I don't see them ever fixing a slide, removing a slide or doing roof repair. I feel like they're going to be more motor, suspension, wheel, tire issues. But that's good too because that maybe takes some of that stress off of the RV service centers and let them just deal with the house portion. That I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this works. I think it's a great idea of Love's to start getting into this. I wonder if anybody that's listening has had experience with this service yet. I'm not sure it's fully rolled out, but when you do, please let us know how it goes. We're really interested in hearing more about it.
Yeah, and to that extent too, if you've used a mobile tech in the past, if you've used a RV service center in the past, let us know what your experience has been with either one of them, positive or negative. We really like to hear from you and hear what do you prefer when you're out traveling. Do you seek out the service centers or you seek out mobile tech, or you trying to do as much work, on your own?
Well, I think that's everything we wanted to cover today, Kenny. We appreciate everybody listening, and we'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode. We have some interviews that we're lining up, so we should have some good stuff to talk about in our next few episodes. So thanks everybody, and until we meet again, safe travels.